Right. Really? Font. Bro, how do you make the font bigger? Alright. What? Command Shift Dot. Wow. Said no one ever. Command Shift Dot for zoom in and Command Shift Dash for zoom out. Never. I've had some big realizations recently. But I just thought I would start with these notes. Okay, because like when you figure out too much shit at once, what you try and do is you try and compress it. I want to give you the fucking 1 hour video of everything that I just like found out, and I want to give you what clicked for me after 2 years because I'm so charitable. But it actually doesn't work like that. Like actually hard work. I turned down the fucking gain, so now you have to edit it. Well done, mate. Don't touch the fucking gain. I don't care. Right. Where was I? Yes, but it takes hard work. It does. I know you've seen it in all the fucking basketball movies and all the fucking Instagram posts. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. It makes it a lot harder for me to come across as genuine. But I'm not generated. I'm not being generated, right, when I say this. Bro, trust me. Hard work pays off. You actually do need to put in hard work. It's not just something that people say and you cope with it by being like, oh, people just say that. It's like cringe motivation talk. So then you don't have to do it and you can keep scrolling on motivation talk. Does that make sense? Like, the medium is the message. It always comes back to that, actually. Never mind these notes. We'll get to those after this. The medium is the message. It doesn't matter what you're watching on TikTok. All that matters is that you're watching it through TikTok, and so naturally you're going to defend the medium. I don't know if I've heard someone say this line, but like defending the medium, I don't know. But it's like, if you see something on TikTok that tells you you shouldn't be on TikTok, you're going to rephrase it in such a way that you can absorb it, like because you consumed it through TikTok in the first place. Does that make sense? You can watch all the get off TikTok content that you want, but the more and more that you watch, the more and more you'll be defending the medium, because that's like your method of information intake. So it's really hard. All it's saying is that it's really hard to convince someone to get off of the thing you're giving them information through. Like, if you strip it down, this is like very Nick Landian communication channel type way of thinking, but it's very easy. If you strip it down and it's like one ear, it's like dark space, one ear, connection, communication channel, another ear. And like all you have, you're in a dark room and there's just like a pipe coming into the room. You can't see anything through it. It's dark as well, but you can like only hear shit through it. Imagine that. That's your one communication channel. You can't see shit. You're blind. You're everything apart from not deaf. And you're using this communication channel. And there's someone transmitting through it, and the guy that's transmitting through it makes sense, and like the words that he's saying make sense, but he's telling you to shut off the communication channel. You're just not going to do that. You're just going to be like, mate, I'm alone here. It's dark. I'm scared. You're the only like thing I can hear. I'm not going to shut that off, right? And you're going to just be terrified and cling on to it. Well, that's what happens if like this is like TikTok instead. You only get stuff through TikTok. This time it's not through your ear or through your eyes, but through like TikTok. TikTok sits as a screen in front of all of your senses. It's auditory, it's visual, it's visceral. Most people spend most of their time in their phone. Most of their time is with the TikTok filter on all of their senses. The medium is the message. You're not going to shut off that communication channel. You're going to hang on to it for dear life. And the reason I paused there is because this goes really deep. This goes into a very spiritual place as well. Because what are we? We could also extrapolate the analogy in a different direction, which is that, okay, you don't have one communication channel, but you've got like two and you can see shit as well through a very thin pipe or whatever the fuck. And then it's like, oh, and then now you can also, feel like touch sense stuff through another pipe. And then we have all of our like 5 senses or whatever. Or like there's 25 senses, whatever you want to call it. We've got a bunch of communication channels coming in, right? And we're just like a different, like we're basically, and then what? We have them all come in and we're like, why would we shut them off? Right? And I'm not telling you to kill yourself, bro. I'm not telling you to kill yourself. That's one way to shut them off. You don't need to kill yourself though. You can just do this meditation thing. But like we cannot meditate. I can't fucking, I'm saying that as someone who cannot meditate, who cannot shut the fuck up. This is part of what these notes are about. Is that like, I am such an expert at doing this shit. That's why I can describe it. I think this is the fundamental thing people don't get. Like you're never, like Baudrillard was really against science. A lot of these postmodern guys I think were like quite anti-science, but it doesn't matter, mainly Baudrillard definitely mainly was. But like, science, what science ideologically does to us just so far outweighs any potential benefits that we got to start talking about like the bad of science first before the good of science. He doesn't want to be on the other side of the glass. Like he can't be like, this is why people really don't like this stuff, is because they view these people as thinking they're better than everyone. Because they can't digest things in any other way. They have to be like, if someone is being like, they have to see it as judgy. What I'm trying to say is that if you judge people, people see it as judgy. Like judgy is a thing now. Like you're so judgy. If you're judging people, it's like got really negative connotations. What if I'm just judging myself honestly, bro? And I know like that I can extrapolate that out because I'm one of these many people. Anyway, that's kind of like a big thing, but yeah, like a big tangent. But yes, that we're not the scientists behind the glass screen. I am actually analyzing, like I have this. I was so prey to this. I still am so prey to this. I can't really meditate. I had my first like moment of presence recently, like real moment of presence. I then wrote these 2 notes. And they probably link into what I was just saying. Number 1, these are thoughts about the phone. Thoughts about the phone. You are just with everyone all the time. You are just with everyone all the time. Like you just do have them in your pocket all the time. They just are, like if your phone's on your desk, certain people just are with you. They just are. Communication channels. It's like adding on the communication channels, and we don't want to let go of it more and more. This is like the communication channel most broadly of our phone instead of just TikTok this time. The definition we use for medium can get more and more pliable. So it can go from like hardware to software. So it can be both things. That's basically that idea. So like not TikTok this time, but like the phone and these hardware mediums are often the most broad. So they're quite interesting to talk about. So McLuhan was like more caught up in talking about the TV physically than like any specific type of programming. He would mention like, soft stuff to the programming that was very general, happened to be very general, like how ads are in between every program, for example, in the time of the television. He would analyze like that, then like the TV, like the hardware, and like the way it functions, like antennae and all this shit, and like circuits, and like the way that the information fundamentally comes in. And not like he wouldn't go too soft, but you can go soft. And so that's the difference. Like now the phone is what's replaced the TV, and so the phone underlies like, I don't know if I'm going too slow or too fast anymore. So the phone now underlies all of our time, our reality. What exactly does it underlie? What exactly does it underlie is a really good question to get into the second part of this note. It makes you think about your representation / appearance every single time you do anything. Because everything that you do at this point is on the representation device / the mobile phone itself. You are forced to represent all the time. And so you do represent all the time because you are so used to doing it. Now, when you might not have your phone around for even an hour, the entire hour, you will still be in the mode of representation, in the mode of thinking about how you're coming across, about your appearance. You are now trapped in the double, the mirror, trapped. So your reality is now just the mirror, the double. Collapse between the imaginary and the real, the magic of the concept and the charm of the real. Stuck in conceptuality. Coaxed and probed and interrogated, there is something so prestigious about being interrogated today, all the time. You are the model. You start to represent all the time. But according to what? When we no longer have the reality itself, this underlying thing, to use for our representations, because reality only happens in absence of representation, what do we start representing with? The model, the media, comes to underlie our representations. This now takes the place of reality. So then you are doing the representation, not your own reality. You are literally not in the territory, not exploring your thoughts. And then I stopped with, does that make sense? I'm not making any claims to reality. This is what these analytic fuckers who destroyed philosophy at the universities. That's a good way of getting into one of the chapters that I was wanting to read. But these analytic fuckers in the philosophy departments in all these universities, destroying philosophy. And like, it's like one thing I wanted to get across when I was writing this stuff, like I had around the time, just like it was just before I started recording, was that it's cheap. It's so cheap. It's not even complicated. It was so obvious. That's what I said to myself. It's so obvious. And because it's so obvious, it's so easy to forget. Does that make sense? Like, an idea can be so obvious that it's just like goes away. Precession of the model. I don't need to make any claims to reality, in short. Okay, like in analytic philosophy where you have to like make strict, rigorous deductions with logic, bro. We're beyond that. I don't know how structures of meaning work well enough to understand how local truths come about. Does that make sense? But it's a local truth. It's a local truth. There is such thing as truth in like a local sense. When everyone is like crowded around like a very like, you know, okay, let's say you have like reality is like a circle, and you've got this like slowly changing gradient over the circle. Maybe it goes from like blue to like bluish green to like green. Like, let's say you see the world from like a blue dogmatism, then you only see the blue part of reality. And if you see it from a green dogmatic religion, then you see the green part. So science gives us like, you know, part of this reality circle, but it just gives us part. And we all got fixated on the one part that it gave us, okay? So we're shit philosophers because we're just talking about the fact that like reality itself is on hold, guys. Like, let's fucking sort that out first, then we can go back to doing the philosophy. But we're not shit philosophers because you can actually map that distinction onto like reality itself and then start getting spiritual about existence itself. And it goes all like simulation can be defined like larger or like smaller, and you can get closer and closer to like more and more spiritual places. Do I need the iPad? I'm going to try not to do it with the iPad because these guys write without diagrams. They never have diagrams. And I think that's really important. And I sound like an arrogant dickhead. They don't do diagrams because diagrams process more easily. Yeah, I wanted to get at this idea of like, if you feel like you're with everyone all the time, then you're always thinking about how you're coming across. So like, for example, like I just thought something, and then I like, as part of that thought, like as a mini attachment that I had no control over kind of thing, I thought about sending it to my girlfriend. Like sending that text. I'm not so bad. Like this is how it works with people taking photos of shit. They think they're with everyone, so they want to show everyone all the time, I guess. It's not that bad, where like I fucking look at something and the first thing I think is like, that would look good on Instagram. So I don't do that, but I did it with a sentence. Like I was like speaking to myself, and like as part of speaking to myself, it got like sent a little bit to the phantom communication channel of my girlfriend, even though she's not here. A little bit of my energy got like sapped away in that sentence. Like otherwise that energy would have been directed entirely to myself, right? You're kind of like as soon as you start trying to represent stuff, you're representing stuff more and more. Like these little vortices, these little things which swirl up and down. Sometimes you're not representing that much. But then sometimes you represent loads. It's this thing of like thinking about. I don't know if anyone used to do this when they were younger. I used to do this when I was younger. And I actually wager that a lot of kids used to do this and they just can't, they don't even know how to express it. But I think they did. You go down this like thought loop, I'm pretty sure I've heard, my flatmate speak about it like that. I don't know if it's the same thing. But you think about thinking about. You're like, okay, I'm going to think about how it can be fucking anything. I'm going to think about how green those leaves look outside my window. And then I'm going to thinking about how green those leaves look outside my window. That's philosophy, right? Thinking about is philosophy. But then you can go like, oh, this might work. So I have to take a quick tangent. Alfred Jarry came up with something called pataphysics. So now actually we've mentioned 2 of the things from the one chapter that I was hoping to read. And, I always ask GPT, and I've read around and I've looked it up. And the typical answer that I had in my head until now was like, it always describes it as like, as far as metaphysics sticks out from physics, pataphysics sticks out from metaphysics. That's like the best I had. Well, they're all dickheads, because you can say it like it's thinking about. That the 3 thinking abouts is pataphysics. I think that's how that works. Thinking about is metaphysics, is philosophy. Thinking about the thought itself. Oh, those leaves on that tree are really green. You don't even know that you've had that thought, right? That's the key. That links in with this note, right? Like that's what reality is. Reality is nothing. Reality is absence, structurally. I don't know why no one's talked about this before. Maybe that's what the psychoanalysts mean when they say that desire is lack, structurally. And then they think they're too good for someone like Baudrillard who says that desire is reality. Although then Baudrillard now has a line. Now we have to find that line. Take your desire. No, we don't have to find the line. That's cocky, because I can go here and do that instead of flipping through the book. Yeah, I know where, you know what, I'll just say it. Yes, I know where a lot of stuff is. I know where a lot of fucking lines are in the book. All right? And yes, I do think it looks cool. But I'm aware that I think it looks cool. I just think it's fucking sick. But I'm aware of that, so I'm stopping doing that. And I'm doing something which will probably be just as quick, but avoids that. I'm trying to do something, really, at the end of the day. So we're going to just use this. All right? And, whenever you think that about, just stop making willpower arguments. Do you know what I mean? Stop making willpower arguments. Get the fuck off your phone, delete the social media, and just tell everyone in your life that you're not good enough. Tell them all. That's what I did. Do that. Relinquish some level of the communication channel and see what happens. There you go. Back to communication channels. Relinquish some number of them. We don't just have the one. You don't have to be grabbing on. You're making yourself just have the one by being on TikTok all the time. But when you're normally alive, you've got loads. You've got all the 26 fucking senses, whatever. Your entire life experience. right? Just shut off some of them. Like, shut off the social media communication channel, which doesn't have billions of years of what we could call genetic biological evolution, but what I prefer to call traditions and origin. Like get rid of the thing that's been around for like 20 years. Get rid of that instead of the thing that's been around for millions and millions and millions of years. Namely your sight, your hearing, your smell, Get rid of that and see what happens. Maybe someone was benefiting by you having that. And not benefiting by being able to sell you products, not benefiting by being able to exploit your labor. Fine. Classical capitalism, fine. They're now exploiting your reality for themselves as well, and they don't even know it. They're exploiting your reality now. It's not just your labor, it's everything about you. It's the way you think. They're exploiting the way you think now. And the way you think is getting muddied up and harvested, just like the forest gets muddied up and harvested for wood and minerals. Right? Maybe that's what's happening with those few extra communication channels, considering all of the statistics and all of the people who are begging you to get the fuck off social media. And then it becomes a simulation of itself. And then it becomes, TikTok parental controls, bro. The worst thing on earth. TikTok parental controls is the worst thing on earth. You've already lost if you have to put parental controls on the iPad for your kid, bro. Does that make sense? He's already addicted. Oh, we'll give him some cocaine every now and then, and he'll just be a functioning cocaine addict for the rest of his life because we're giving him a tiny amount of cocaine every day. What are you doing, bro? You've already lost. Medium is the message. Relinquish some of the communication channels and see what happens. This goes back to reality structurally is lack. And then I said that all the psychoanalysts, they talk about desire in the same way. Desire is structurally a lack. The object of desire is always something that you cannot have, and it changes as soon as you get that thing. So you want the celebrity lifestyle. Literally as soon as your brain decides that you have the celebrity lifestyle, it's on to the next thing, right? And if it wasn't on to the next thing, you would be a fucking Buddhist monk instantly there and then upon achieving that. That's what enlightenment is, I guess. That's what enlightenment is actually achieving the thing that you're thinking about. I don't know. Is actually achieving your object of desire. That's all that meditation is. Bro, think about Buddha just sitting under the tree. He just actually achieved his object of desire, and now he's just that's how you have to be. It's not fucking, bro, channeling the fucking energy. He's just I'm done. I've done it. You know when you feel I've done it, right? Oh, I finished. People just can't switch off. I mean, and people say this and people have no idea what's actually going on, but that's what that means. And then I said that there was a line, and we were going to go to the line. We're just going to read this. The only weapon of power, its only strategy against this defection, is to re-inject the real and the referential everywhere. To persuade us of the reality of the social, of the gravity of the economy, and the finalities of production. To this end, it prefers the discourse of crisis, but also, why not, that of desire. Take your desires for reality can be understood as the ultimate slogan of power, since in a non-referential world, even the confusion of the reality principle and the principle of desire is less dangerous than contagious hyperreality. One remains among principles, and among those power is always in the right. So they all say, all these other dickheads, you know what? And I just invested heavily in my boy Delos and in my boy Guattari. And I've got difference and repetition coming. Because I had a very strange experience involving difference and repetition. A very strange experience indeed. Because Nick Land has sold them on me, which is quite sad. I don't know, maybe no, actually it's not sad. We're going to get onto, as part of the chapter that I want to write, that I want to read to you, we're going to get onto how Nick Land is actually, like, really interesting. But anyway, he adapted Deleuze and Guattari, who are big postmodern dogs, who are around the same time as Baudrillard in France. They wrote, like, they were, like, the most fruitful combination, like, bro, fucking, will you be the Guattari to my Deleuze? Like, that should be a phrase. That would be a meme if, like, meme culture was slightly better. Yeah, whatever. The bread to my butter, you know, that's how they go. And anti-Oedipus, because anti-Freudianism, like anti-arborescence. I just got it. I haven't read it. Okay, I haven't read it. I've read the preface by Michel Foucault, which is 3 pages. Okay, I'm not trying to say I've read it. I'm not trying to say I've read difference and repetition. It's just, you start connect, like the Wikipedia, bro. That's what I've done. I've read like 5 Wikipedia articles about the book, the people, and the definitions in the book. Like I'm realizing how important Wikipedia is. And Grokpedia fucking scares me. It really scares me. Because I rely a lot on Wikipedia. Because otherwise you can't know what content is goated. Right? At least for you. Like, you cannot read the entire philosophical field and make change in the world. Like, we have very little time to catch on to this stuff. And, like, enough of us need to catch on to it hard enough that we then get together and we have enough influence. And because there's, like, 10,000 of us, it starts making a bit more sense. Nick Land thinks we have 0 fucking time. Nick Land thinks we're fucked. And he's just like, all right, fuck humans. Like, I don't think Nick Land hates humans. I think he thinks that there's no other way to cope with the certainty of the reality than just to also say, fuck humans. Here's the next best thing that we're going to do. Anyway, because of Nick Land, and we'll get into him as part of the chapter. So they all say this, take your desires for reality. And that can actually be understood, Baudrillard says, as the ultimate slogan of power. Among the main thing, his thing is that, like, power itself is disappearing. Jeff Bezos exploiting you as labor power or, like, taking money from you is fucking nothing compared to the loss of power that we're experiencing, where it's not even Jeff Bezos doing stuff to you. And then this is where Nick Land comes in, which is he talks about these things from the outside. Like, he calls them, like, demons. He goes all the way. And that's, like, we're going to talk about why it sounds so conspiracy theory crackpot. And Begonia is really interesting in this regard, actually. Really interesting, the film. It's all related. But, like, there are these outside forces. Like, it's like order of production. I keep saying this. I just hate saying it again and again. It's like, it's no longer Jeff Bezos. It's all humans and order of production, right? That's normally my image, okay? So he phrases that in a really interesting way. And part of it being phrased so interestingly to the point where it's like, so you might just say, like, okay, why can't they just at least write, like, why can't he just at least speak like Baudrillard? And, like, even though it's dickhead speak, if you, like, you can tell that it's not, like, you know, whatever over the top. And I think the reason he doesn't do that is because, like, there's no point doing that anymore. And it's, like, part of his ploy. Like, it's the only type of philosophy that you can actually do nowadays. That's what I get struck at when I watch Nick Land. It's the cutting edge of philosophy. Philosophy as a discipline changes drastically, I'm sure, throughout history, in the way that it's done, in the style that it's done. The cutting, like, the forefront of philosophy always changes. I think he's at the forefront. He's on, like, these tiny YouTube channels with, like, these guys with, like, maybe 9,000 subscribers. He could probably get, maybe he can't even get on a more popular channel, but he probably could, or, like, he could probably, you know, whatever. But he's just, I think all that matters is that there are people who want him on their channel, and he chooses to do that instead of, like, any flashy thing that he could choose to do, because he's just trying to do it. Back to this idea of, like, we're trying to do something. He's just trying to. So I think he's the only way you can do philosophy in this time. And it's good. Okay, let's go to the chapter now. I hope that was a good intro. So, I feel like I'm going to have a trauma attack reading this again, which is like sort of the level to which it's clicked. Like, stuff clicking is not fun. Stuff clicking is not meant to be fun, bro. Like, that's the productivist way of thinking about everything, right? Oh, like that's what they like. Productivism has, like, this is what Baudrillard talks about this all the time. Good paving the way for evil. Like, the positivity, the radical positivity of the Western culture, like, and globalization, like now the one world order, pretty much under neoliberalism. Even that sounds so conspiracy theorist. The Spiraling Cadaver. When I first read this clicked for the first time 2 days ago, and I've had this book for like 2 years. And it's not very thick. It takes time. The university is in ruins. Non-functional in the social arenas of the market and employment, and lacking cultural substance or an end purpose of knowledge. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Just like the university, anyone who's been to university since this was fucking written probably knows this to be true, right? It's just bullshit. Do we need to go through how university is bullshit? Are you really going to defend your life that hard? Are you really going to defend the system that hard so you're not butthurt? And like choose to sacrifice your life so you don't get butthurt? Or are you just going to admit what you already know? I'm going to assume you're just going to admit what you already know. If you've been to university, you know it is bullshit since like 1981 probably, especially in the 21st century. The university is in ruins, non-functional in the social arenas of the market and employment, lacking cultural substance or an end purpose of knowledge. What was the point of the university to begin with? That's what I think when I read this first bit. Like, what was the point of the university? Right? Nowadays, what do you think when you think university? You think STEM, and you think STEM because STEM means good job and good money. So what makes a university good now is insofar as it's in service to, like, the only good principles we can think of when it comes to a university is them being in service to the economy. And the economy, or I should rather say the political economy, is of a very, very specific flavor. The university used to be about making sure we don't get stuck in any one particular flavor, and actually like kept advancing things and trying things out. So that's why the university is in ruins, because what you think of when you think of a good university is in service to capitalism. The order of production, this wholly unnatural thing that we do not have to accept, yet nevertheless we do, because it is so naturalized. It's just nature. Oh, that's another mention of something in this chapter. Really excited to read it. I think it's a really good chapter. I used to think it was shit. I didn't understand any of it. So that's that first bit, in my mind. They used to be about actual culture, whatever that was. Actual dialectic, right? Like, and this is where pataphysics again will make sense as thinking about. It will really make a lot of sense. Basically, leave the philosophers alone to just do their thinking about, instead of getting involved, like instead of naturalizing it so hard that it just becomes reality, right? That's the best way to think about it. A diagram would be great. I don't think I need a diagram. Oh, look, those leaves over there are so green. I'm thinking, but there would be no representation for it, right? I wouldn't have those words in my head. I would be thinking it. Now, if I think about thinking it, which is what I was actually doing the last time I was speaking, so you see how it like shifts n-1, doesn't matter. The thing I was actually doing, that was thinking about it, right? And then you can go one level higher and you can think about thinking about it. And that's pataphysics. And so what the system does is it takes one layer of thinking about and it naturalizes it. It naturalizes the representation. It naturalizes appearances. It naturalizes the image. Reality is a structural lag. Reality is a structural lag, not desire. We've lost reality. Desire is now generated. Desire itself has now been recuperated by the system and is generated. The simulation covers everything. Strictly speaking, there is no longer even any power. It is also in ruins, whence the impossibility of the return of the fires of 1968. It was a revolution in France. It was basically, the way he looks at it, because it's quite important for this chapter, is it was the last real revolution, basically is how you can think of it. May 10, 68, Charles de Gaulle even left France. They were so close to the Communist Party, I think, had a big hand in it. And then the Communist Party just ended up arguing for higher wages, and it was big wage increases, but that was it. And then Charles de Gaulle came back to France. And that's how it, there was a moment where the communists could have taken power and they didn't. That's how I think about it as well. And it started at the universities, and it started at places like University of Nanterre, where Baudrillard was working. I think that's where it started. But then it spread to the whole country, and it was workers as well and all this type of stuff. That's what it is in my mind. So whence the impossibility of actual revolution, the return of the fires of 1968, of the return of putting in question knowledge versus power itself, which is what? The explosive contradiction of knowledge and power, which is what? The revelation of their collusion, right? Foucault introduces this very nicely. This idea that knowledge is power. This idea that science fabricates the object of its discourse. And functionality or utility, which is what science and rational thinking and mathematical thinking and logical thinking ends in, generally, in industry. Functional thinking, utility, is nothing, is never anything, but the most beautiful of connotations. There's nothing, it's just an image. So knowledge is power. Because power is in the way you think about things, is a way you could sum it up, right? Okay, an easier example is so Foucault was a big gay guy, whatever. So even his point would be that even the categories gay and straight already chop up then LGBTQ plus all this shit. The entire idea of that is based on I guess a really shit, really bastardized Foucauldian reading, where you have the double retardation of the fact that society has moved on and forget Foucault. Let's forget Foucault, which is what Baudrillard wrote. And I think he's fucking right. And you know what? He should have probably written let's forget Deleuze. He probably should have. Really. But whatever. We won't say that. It's just disappointing. They just don't go all the way. Anyway, that's the idea. You are fabricated as an individual by society is another way of understanding it, right? Your idea of what it means to be an individual is fabricated by society. What it means to be an individual is that I don't bump into you on the street. What it means to be an individual is that I don't say hi to you on the bus. Right? What it means to be an individual is that I certainly don't speak up when you're disciplining, or when I think you should discipline your kid. I certainly don't discipline your kid for you or comment on how you're parenting your kid. Well, in a lot of other cultures, it's very normal. In a lot of African cultures, it's very normal. It's one big family. So all of this stuff, knowledge is power. Everything we take for granted, no, it's fabricated. And even though it seems really general and broad, it's just a model. And the model has been decided on by, assumedly someone in power. But it's no longer that. Right? Because we have no power anymore. So it's just the code, Baudrillard would say. It's just the code perfecting itself. This thing called the code. Anyway. Whence the impossibility of the return of the fires of 1968, of the return of putting in question knowledge versus power itself, the explosive contradiction of knowledge and power, or the revelation of their collusion, which comes to the same thing, in the university, and at the same time, through symbolic rather than political contagion, in the whole institutional and social order. Why sociologists mark this shift? The impasse of knowledge. The vertigo, I don't know what why sociologist is. I asked GPT and then it just was like, it didn't take it to mean like the title of something, and I didn't want to argue with it. So I was just like, fuck it. It doesn't know off the bat, then I'm not going to like try and get some hallucinated, half real, half fake thing off of it. So it makes me feel happy. I use Claude, by the way. I think GPT is shit. I use Claude, but I just say Jippity. It's like Google now. No one else does that. Why sociologists? But point being, we're asking like, why do we even need sociologists? I guess like that's the place that it has in this for me. Why sociologists marked this shift. The impasse of knowledge, the vertigo of non-knowledge. That is to say, it wants the absurdity and the impossibility of accumulating value in the order of knowledge. Because another thing about Baudrillard is that everything becomes, like everything falls under the structural law of value. Before it was just commodities would fall under the structural law of value, and you wouldn't look at anything else in this like market way of like exchange and surplus and all this stuff. But then you start looking at everything like that, like sex, you know, and like your personality and like your culture. And it's the exchange, the manner exchange markets of the social medias. And then that, you know, goes to everything. Like when you're going outside, you're like, you know, people are just parading themselves when they go outside now. So, and this happens to knowledge as well. You can't accumulate value in the order of knowledge. That's just absurd. Hegel is just the like big dog philosopher. His entire thing is about dialectics. What are dialectics? It's just a series of contradictions that we're going to do, and then we'll get to the final thing. Hegelian dialectics is all about, like, and it's a big thing I've been thinking about as well. Like, contradictions take us through history. Like, that's what history is. Like, that's where reality is taking place in. We'll get into that. But yeah, like, you don't accumulate knowledge. That's not the normal way that continental idealist philosophers think about things. The vertigo of non-knowledge turns like an absolute weapon against power itself, in order to dismantle it according to the same vertiginous scenario of dispossession. You know, I had a thought recently. Something like, you know what? I sent it. I was trying to pretend like I didn't send it to someone. I sent it to my entire family because I'm just trying to get people to understand. I don't think anyone enjoys their life anymore. I don't think that's what this note means, really, is that you don't enjoy your life anymore. You're just stuck in the representation. You're trapped. There's no creativity. There's no rhizomatic thinking. And it doesn't mean being creative and then harvesting the creativity productively, like filming yourself, or like making a film, or like, you know, writing stuff. You don't have to. You can just do it. But you have dickheads. We do it as dickheads. We do it because, like, we can see that, like, we do it because, back to the main thing, we can't do it ourselves. So we may as well do the one thing that they robbed from us. Does that make sense? And like, the one thing you can do when you've been robbed of reality yourself is to talk about it. And like, firstly, that's going to get you back there. That's the spiritual journey. You will get back there. Take my word for it. I'm nowhere near done, but take my word for it. And like, you'll go to interesting places. You'll be creative in your head. That's it. You'll just, and what does it even mean to be creative? It means genuine surprise. It means things aren't pre-programmed. It means things aren't generated according to a model. It means you're in the dialectic. It means you're like sort of following this process into the void. The void is like seducing you. But yeah, I don't think anyone enjoys their life anymore. So what was I going to do with this phone? Oh yeah. Insofar as we do, are we controlling life, or do we leave life? And that's what that sentence means to me. The vertigo of non-knowledge. That is to say, it wants the absurdity and the impossibility of accumulating value in the order of knowledge. Like, it's impossible is my point. I mean that about the word impossibility. It's like, insofar as we control life. What does it mean to control life? It means that you have knowledge about life, so you know how to control it. But how can you have knowledge about life if you're not thinking about what you're thinking about? And this is where the idea of the outside comes in. right? Because it's like, if you're not thinking about what you're thinking about, then where do your thoughts come from? That's the final thing, right? Where does, like, who is deciding for me to think, damn, those leaves are really green, or this nature is really beautiful, or I really love this person? Who's deciding that? Because Baudrillard has a book called Impossible Exchange, which I don't have on me right now. And it's all about this. It's all about, does the world, I went over it in another video, like doubling the world and being in the double. And we've mentioned that here. Like, you can never, reality is a radical illusion, because as soon as you double the world, the double becomes part of the world, but you're trapped in the double. That's the sum up. I'm not going to go in any further. But the opening parts of the book also talk about, is it thought that tips the world into uncertainty, or is it the world that tips thought into uncertainty? This fundamental illusion is part of the fundamental illusion of reality. This unknowability of whether it's the world that tips thought into uncertainty, or whether it's thought that tips the world into uncertainty, is part of this radical illusion. So I think we should take a step back and we should be clear here, because this is something that stopped me from understanding this. Saying that reality is a fundamental illusion doesn't mean there's no reality. So at the back of the book, it says there is indeed no reality. I don't think Baudrillard says that. Or maybe he does. I think he says that. But he's also still using the word reality. He also does definitely say reality is a radical illusion. So reality is there, and it's this thing which is a radical illusion. It doesn't mean that reality just doesn't exist. It means that you can never know if it exists or not. But anyway, that's like very interesting. And that takes you to very spiritual places again. It's all about nothing versus something. And you know what, all these people who are like, I sat there thinking about nothing versus something. Have you ever done that? Like, bro, you get to some crazy places. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. If it took you to crazy places, bro, you would not be at fucking, big corpo bank XYZ, bro. You just fucking wouldn't. It takes you to like very weird places. But that aside, the thing I wanted to hone in on was this idea of, is it the world that tips thought into uncertainty, or is it thought that tips the world into uncertainty? He's kind of talking about that. Who's letting you think the leaves are green, right? Who's sort of like doing that? That's what Hegel calls the dialectic. That's important to remember. Hegel's dialectic is the reality that we've lost in Baudrillard. I think that's a very useful line of thinking. It's just like you're in reality, there's contradiction. And then we get to like illusion of the end. Basically his thing, we'll start at the very beginning with Canetti's thing, just so you get an essence for what I mean when I say the illusion of the end and what he's talking about here. This is like an excellent sum up, this little thing from Canetti. A tormenting thought, as of a certain point, and look, pataphysics of the year 2000. Now I have to think about that. In the terms of pataphysics being thinking about. Right? He's like one layer outside of it. He's one more layer outside of the representation than everyone else. And he just sees that that's where it's going. Think of philosophers as verifiers. Like a true philosopher, they just try and keep this Hegelian dialectic going. That's a philosopher's job, is like agents of the dialectic. And their job is to like always ensure that you can like critique and like have a dialectical development throughout history. And Baudrillard, because he's the best philosopher amongst them all, and none of them fucking went this far, and they all thought he was like the enfant terrible of fucking French philosophy, and they all hated him, and he wrote Forget Foucault, and he was like, you know what, fuck you. I like, for the one guy who finds you, I'm going to write like Forget Foucault. And like, I fucking read Discipline and Punish as one of the first books I read when I was getting into philosophy. And it's pretty good, but it's just not on this level. Like Baudrillard knew that we were short on time, and so he just skipped ahead by a couple fucking decades compared to what all these people were doing. And he was like, yeah, so it's just like reality, which is going to have gone. And he just predicted it. And now we live in the world. Like, there are some lines where he's just like alive today writing about social media. It's just so, every single line. Anyway, a tormenting thought, as of a certain point, history was no, I want to finish off that thought. The best philosophers are the best verifiers. And what are they verifying? They're verifying that no one is like too many thought loops out. They're like checking that. They're like the good guys being like, no, like this guy's manipulating you. You're just not seeing it. You're just not thinking about it. I'm thinking about it for you. And since I'm thinking about it for you, I could also try and manipulate and be a colonialist. But I'm actually just going to let you know. Like, I can't do what you do, bro. Like, you know, but your tribe is getting fucked. This is how I feel. Like, this is going to sound so racist, and it might come back to bite me. But I don't think it should, because it's not a race thing that I'm trying to draw here. I'm going to say that immigrants in general, and this is like it is a positive thing. They are one thought loop down. Like, you can kind of see that. All these white people are in simulation. It's not a good place to be. So immigrants are like one thought thing down. And what I mean when I say that is not that they don't think as deeply. If anything, they think deeply. Because they're not in this like schizophrenic, like detached mode of existence where they're not even alive, using the model as their representation, using the representation of reality as their representation, and generating their reality based off that. Like, they're still alive. That's all I'm trying to say. But they're like confused, like they know something's happening, and like they have a bad feeling. They are way ahead of the curve than any of these fucking white, like any of these westernized people, right? They're way ahead of the curve. But it's like it's like when a bunch of frogs like jump away because they know an earthquake's about to happen, whereas a philosopher just like knows that an earthquake's about to happen. A tormenting thought: as of a certain point, history was no longer real. Without noticing it, all mankind suddenly left reality. Everything happening since then was supposedly not true, but we supposedly didn't notice. Our task would now be to find that point, and as long as we didn't have it, we would be forced to abide in our present destruction. Now I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to do some hand gestures, and I hope you've been listening. Even if it's future me. Like, I know I don't fucking know. Please watch these if you become uninspired. A tormenting thought: as of a certain point, history was no longer real. Hegelian dialectic. Without noticing it, all of mankind suddenly left reality. We took a snapshot of reality. We bought a bunch of models off of reality. We filmed stuff of reality. And then we got trapped in the representation. And now we're stuck here thinking about everything instead of just doing it. And thinking about how you're going to come across to your girlfriend. And thinking about how you're going to come across to the people outside. And thinking about how you're going to come across every time you text someone. People do things, only exclusively things that draw attention to their representation. People do the model all the fucking time. People are learning about the model all the time. What I mean by what I mean by that is that if you say something, you're going to think about taking a photo of it if you see something. Or if you say something, you're going to think about sending it to your girlfriend or your best friend or your family or your mate. Or you won't do any of those things. That's fine. But you will think about it. You will think about doing it. You're just stuck. It doesn't matter if someone takes away your phone now and it's in a different fucking room, or it falls off of a fucking building. For the next decade, if it gets bad enough, it will take a decade to recover. Perhaps you can never recover. But for that period, you will just not be in reality. Doesn't matter if it's been taken away from you. This is like practice with the model. And then it goes away and generates. So, like, this is the key thing to understand. This is why the Matrix is like almost completely the opposite of what the guy meant, actually. In the Matrix, you get trapped in a phone screen, in a VR headset. You get trapped in the machine, like, physically. That's just practice. You can think of it this way. If Neo came out of the fucking pod that he was in for the past 20 years, or however long, for however old he is until he finds out that he wasn't in reality and he like wakes up out of the fucking VR headset. Like, you all have this image, even if you haven't seen the film. It's like pop culture. And then he's like, oh, the desert of the real is here. Okay, cool. The desert of the real. That was just practice. And when he comes out into the desert of the real, he's what would he say? Like, that's my point. What would he say? He would be like, what the fuck? This is not reality. Put me back in reality. And that's why people are so afraid of being present. And that's why I'm so afraid of being present. What am I afraid of? Like, what are people afraid of when they say they're afraid to do drugs? Or they're afraid to think big? They're afraid to think too much about their lives? Like, what are you talking about? You just woke up out the damn thing. You just did pataphysics. You did not even pataphysics. Just do philosophy. Pataphysics is like when you go insane, I guess. Just do philosophy, and then you're like, you come out of the thing. Doing philosophy, thinking about the thinking, is the equivalent of coming out of the Matrix thing. That's just practice. The ultimate thing is that you now believe that was reality. I don't know how anyone hasn't talked about this. Maybe they have. Realistically, Neo should come out of that fucking thing and be like, put me back in now. That's why people are terrified. People being me. I'm not trying to be arrogant here. I am fucking terrified of being present. I am terrified of being in reality. Like true radical reality. And maybe too much of it is too much. And this is where it maps on spiritually, right? Maybe like from the get-go, simulation is like everything, And then like this ultimate, I don't know if I finished this thought earlier, but it's like you can change how thick the extra shit on top of reality is. And you can crowd out reality down to just purely nothing. You can distill it down to that if you wanted to. And like that's what the unbounded field of consciousness is. Never was created, will always be there. It was always there. It will always be there. That's what David Lynch describes this stuff as. Unbounded, endless creativity. Well, that's nothing. Nothing was always there. It wasn't created. It will be there forever, and it has always been there. So that's where it gets spiritual. You can crowd out reality by making the whole picture simulation, and then reality just becomes nothing. But we're just talking about like, not even that big of a slice of that. But that's where it goes. So, we were in the dialectic. We left reality because we took a snapshot at a certain point. We based all of our models off that snapshot. In fact, that snapshot was our models, quite literally, with cameras and reality TV and like it's all real, right? You're not consuming fucking Ninjago or Lego. Fucking animated fucking, the Lego movie. Most of your content is like hyper realistic. Like phones set up on counters in someone's kitchen filming themselves. That's 90% of the content we take in, whether it's on YouTube and it's like slightly nicer, like Big Think, it'll be still like that's why people love podcasts. That's why podcasts blew the fuck up, because you're just sat there with people. And that's why I realize I need to do this. I just need to be sat here with people. Like that's the only thing I can do. I need to bring it to you on a silver fucking platter. But like you can't do that with this content with chopping it up and making it fun. You can't. Plastic pills is for people who already have a handle on this stuff. It is not for people to learn about it. It is supplementary material, bro. And I don't know how many people plastic pills is getting to actually the reading stage of this stuff. I don't think it's enough. And so I don't think you're going to get to the reading stage either. I don't fucking blame you. All I ask is pay attention during these videos. If it kind of makes an ounce of sense, do a little bit in your own time, and then we can meet up in a year. No, I don't want to meet up with weirdos, but I just fucking, French people used to do that. They used to start little collectives. I don't know. Is that weird? Are we going to start having orgies? Did they all have orgies? I guess that's like a French thing. That's what I mean when I say illusion of the end. We fucking snapshotted the model. That's the idea. We left reality. Do this chapter, and then we'll do the essay that I wrote kind of around the same time that this chapter clicked, and I was in the same inspiration, the same joie de vivre, they say. Not going to read the first bit again.